Ordinary members of the public sit in a chair, and if they bore us with their story, we have a big...
Graham Norton just dropped some jaw-dropping confessions about 7 of his most unforgettable guests. Yeah, the ones who made his time on set a total headache. For years, fans begged him to reveal who his worst guests were, but he kept it zipped, not wanting to stir up trouble. Well, that silence is over. He's finally talking, and the tea is boiling hot. Norton, who's interviewed hundreds of A-list stars on his iconic talk show, is finally naming names and calling out the celebs who turned his dream job into a straight-up nightmare. His show became legendary for its slick mix of razor-sharp humor, relaxed vibes, and those viral, out-of-control moments that fans couldn't stop replaying. Graham's got that rare gift. He can make even the stiffest celeb drop their guard and show their real self. That's why fans from every corner of the world tune in, not just for laughs, but for the unexpected shocks, hilarious chaos, and wild energy that make his couch the most unpredictable spot on TV. But let's keep it real. Not every guest was sunshine and smiles. Some rolled in with massive egos, acting cold, distant, and clearly wishing they were anywhere else. What should have been an easy night sometimes turned into painfully awkward chaos. Over time, Graham dropped sneaky hints about a few troublemakers, and every once in a while he even admitted which big names pushed his patience to the limit. Now, at 62, he's done holding back. He's ready to spill everything, naming the 6 stars he wishes he'd never booked and breaking down exactly why those interviews were pure torture. And trust me, some of his reasons will leave you totally stunned. Let's rewind for a second. Graham William Walker, better known as Graham Norton, was born on April 4th, 1963, in Clondalkin, a suburb of Dublin. He later grew up in Bandon, County Cork, where his dad, Billy Walker, worked selling products for Guinness, and his mom, Rhoda, was a school teacher. Even as a kid, Graham was different. He was quick, funny, and always bursting with curiosity, a natural entertainer who couldn't resist cracking jokes and lighting up the room. At Bandon Grammar School, his teachers and classmates couldn't miss his spark. He might have seemed quiet at first, but once he started talking, he had everyone laughing. After school, he went on to study English and French at University College Cork. But honestly, his passion wasn't in the classroom. His heart was on the stage, chasing that spotlight. So he made a bold move, dropping out before finishing his degree and heading straight for London to chase his dream. It wasn't glamorous. He hustled through random jobs, dealt with money struggles, and kept pushing himself through drama training at the Central School of Speech and Drama. Every setback only made him sharper, tougher, and hungrier for success. During those early grind years, he made a powerful decision, ditching his real name and becoming Graham Norton, a name that would soon dominate British television. Those tough early days in London tested him, but they also built the fire that would later make him unstoppable. From a broke, struggling comedian to one of the UK's most adored TV personalities, Graham's rise wasn't luck. It was pure determination, charm, and hustle. After wrapping up his drama training, Graham hit the gritty London comedy scene, working tiny clubs, smoky pubs, and those offbeat theaters where the audience might be 5 people and a cat. Those early days were chaotic, a mix of late-night laughs, embarrassing flops, and hard-earned lessons. But every stumble made him sharper. He carved out a comedy style that blended razor-sharp wit, a dash of self-mockery, and that warm charm that made everyone feel like his best friend. That mix became his magic formula. Then came the moment that changed it all. In the early 90s, people started noticing his fire, and by 1996, boom, everything flipped. Graham stepped in as a last-minute replacement host on Channel 5's Jack Doherty show, and the crowd went wild. His lightning-fast comebacks, mischievous grin, and effortless confidence had both viewers and TV execs begging to see more of him on their screens. Fast forward to 1998, and so Graham Norton hit Channel 4, and it exploded in popularity. This wasn't your ordinary buttoned-up talk show. It was loud, hilarious, and totally unpredictable. Celebs came to chat, but ended up in the middle of wild, laugh-out-loud moments they never saw coming. From bizarre audience interactions to bold, unscripted interviews, Graham turned every episode into must-see TV. His charisma didn't just win fans, it earned him shelves full of BAFTAs. The follow-up series, V. Graham Norton, took things even further, locking in his title as the king of spontaneous television. He had this genius ability to twist the most awkward silence into a comedy gem, and somehow get A-list stars to spill stories they swore they'd never tell. Then came 2007 and the game changer. The BBC came calling with an offer too good to pass up, his very own primetime show, The Graham Norton Show. It launched on BBC Two, and the buzz was instant. Soon after, it jumped to BBC One, becoming an international sensation watched by millions. Graham threw out the traditional talk show rulebook. No separate interviews, no stiff conversations. Instead, he tossed every celebrity on the same couch and let the chaos unfold. The result: pure TV gold, raw, funny, and totally unpredictable. With his relaxed energy and killer timing, Graham created moment after moment that had the internet losing its mind. And he didn't stop there. He went on to host Eurovision, BBC's New Year's Eve specials, and even his own show on Virgin Radio. No matter the stage, Graham brought that perfect mix of humor, charm, and electric energy that no one else could replicate. Graham Norton's rise from broke comic to global icon proves that staying genuine, pushing through setbacks, and using humor as your secret weapon can rewrite your entire story. But even someone as effortlessly cool as Graham has limits, and now he's ready to confess which guests tested those limits big time. First up, Mickey Rourke. When Mickey hit the Graham Norton Show, the energy in the studio dropped instantly. Normally, Graham's couch is buzzing, celebrities laughing, joking, vibing off each other, but not that night. The moment Rourke sat down, you could feel the chill in the air. His answers were short, flat, and ice cold, like he didn't even want to be there. He barely looked at anyone, and every question felt like a struggle just to keep the conversation alive. Even Graham, the king of saving awkward interviews, couldn't break through that wall. Every time Mickey mumbled something under his breath, Graham had to circle back 2 or 3 times just to figure out what he said. It was one of those interviews where the tension was so thick, the whole audience could feel it. Graham kept tossing out questions, doing everything he could to keep the energy alive, but the more he tried, the worse it got. The tension in the studio was unreal, and those long, awkward silences, painful. You could practically hear the audience holding their breath. It wasn't just what Mickey Rourke said, it was how he acted. He slumped in his seat, avoided eye contact, and gave off a vibe like he'd rather vanish into thin air. The usual electric spark of the show, gone in an instant. Graham had to carry the whole thing solo, talking nonstop just to fill the dead air. What should have been a fun, easy chat turned into one of the most painfully uncomfortable interviews in the show's entire history. The crowd felt the awkwardness radiating off the stage, and even Graham later admitted it was one of the hardest interviews he'd ever had to survive. Now for guest number 2, Mark Wahlberg. Oh, this one's the stuff of TV legend for all the wrong reasons. Mark's 2013 appearance on The Graham Norton Show remains one of the most chaotic moments ever aired. Fans tuned in expecting that smooth, confident Mark Wahlberg charm, but what they got instead was pure, unfiltered mayhem. Unlike Rourke, Wahlberg wasn't cold or distant. His issue was the complete opposite. The man was too fired up, and let's just say, not exactly in his sharpest state. From the second he joined Graham and Sarah Silverman on that famous red couch, it was obvious he'd had a bit too much fun before stepping on set. His energy was through the roof, interrupting everyone mid-sentence, blurting out random jokes and throwing off the rhythm of the whole show. What started as harmless fun quickly slid into pure chaos. Graham struggled to rein things in while Sarah Silverman sat there wide-eyed, unsure if she should laugh or duck for cover. Then came the moment that broke the internet. Mark suddenly hopped onto Graham's lap, threw an arm around him, and started cracking wild, slurred jokes right into his ear. The audience didn't know whether to laugh or gasp. Graham, being the ultimate pro, tried to keep his composure. But that forced smile told the truth. He was barely hanging on. Even Sarah, who's used to unpredictable comedy, looked completely caught off guard by how far off the rails things had gone. After the show, Graham didn't sugarcoat it. He said he was just out of it. I mean, really out of it. Viewers were torn. Some found it hysterical, calling it so bad it's brilliant, while others couldn't even watch because of the second-hand embarrassment. Either way, that night made talk show history. Not for the laughs, but for the total on-air meltdown that nobody could look away from. For a show built on playful chaos and witty banter, that Wahlberg moment pushed things way too far. It was no longer comedy, it was pure awkward madness. Later, Wahlberg himself laughed it off, admitting he'd had a few drinks before filming and maybe enjoyed himself a little too much. Still, that wild night went down as one of the most unforgettable disasters in Graham's career. A perfect example of how even the most charming guests can flip the vibe in seconds, leaving Graham scrambling to save the show. And now for number 3, Robert De Niro. This one was tough for totally different reasons. Robert De Niro, an undisputed Hollywood legend, Oscar winner, and cinematic powerhouse, also happens to be one of the hardest people to interview on the planet. When he showed up on the Graham Norton show, that reputation didn't just follow him, it took over the entire room. From the moment Robert De Niro sat down on that iconic red couch, you could feel the chill in the air. There wasn't any bad behavior or attitude, just a wall of silence so solid you could almost hear it hum. While most guests come ready to laugh, share wild stories, and play along with Graham's jokes, De Niro's vibe was completely locked down. His answers were short, polite, and perfectly measured, leaving Graham with almost nothing to build on. Norton, who's famous for getting even the most awkward celebs to loosen up, had to dig deep this time. De Niro would give a nod here, a faint smile there, maybe toss out a carefully chosen sentence. And that was it. The usually electric energy of the show slowed to a crawl, and you could practically see Graham shifting gears, trying everything to keep things alive. He threw in jokes, light questions, even a few cheeky remarks, hoping to break through that cool exterior. But De Niro didn't budge. Calm, composed, and unreadable, the Hollywood legend sat there like a stone statue of mystery. At one point, Graham laughed and said, "This is hard work, Robert." And that line summed it up perfectly. Everyone watching could feel it too. It was like Graham was fighting to pull emotion out of a poker-faced master. For a host as quick and adaptable as Graham, it was a real test of skill and patience. Still, even with the lack of laughs, people couldn't look away. There was something strangely magnetic about it. Watching De Niro stay completely himself, no showbiz mask, no forced charm, gave fans a rare peek behind the curtain. By the end of the episode, it had a totally different kind of power. It wasn't about comedy or chaos, it was about presence. Seeing a legend like De Niro just sit there, quiet but intense, gave the night an almost cinematic weight. Viewers left talking not about the jokes, but about how revealing that silence turned out to be. Now, number 4, Kevin Costner. His appearance didn't crash into scandal or disaster, but it brought its own kind of awkward energy. The Graham Norton show thrives on fast-paced banter, quick wit, and playful teasing. But Kevin's calm movie star vibe just didn't match that rhythm. He wasn't rude or cold, just incredibly composed, almost too composed for the high-energy chaos of Graham's stage. Throughout the chat, Graham kept tossing clever one-liners and light-hearted questions his way. But Kevin's reaction stayed cool and serious, like the humor didn't quite land. The fiery back-and-forth fans love, the snappy rhythm that makes the red couch so iconic just disappeared. What followed wasn't wild or dramatic, but it was definitely tense. Those little pauses after each joke felt way too long, and the silence between laughs started to weigh on everyone in the room. The audience could feel something was off, and Graham had to work overtime, trying to lift the mood and keep the conversation moving. It turned into one of those interviews where both sides were polite, but the chemistry just wasn't there. Kevin's quiet confidence might light up a movie screen, but on Graham's set, where chaos and laughter ruled, it felt like two totally different worlds colliding. Graham once summed it up perfectly when he said, "Some people just aren't made for this format. They don't get it, and that's fine, but it can make for a very long show." That line could have been written just for Kevin Costner's episode. Costner's calm, confident presence was strong. You could feel his movie star aura the second he walked in, but on Graham's fast-paced stage, it created a strange clash of vibes. It wasn't heated or hostile, just weirdly offbeat, like two people trying to dance to completely different songs. The mix of Graham's humor and Costner's steady seriousness left everyone caught between fascination and a bit of second-hand cringe. Now for number 5, and this one's the most chilling of all, Harvey Weinstein. Before his shocking downfall and everything the world later learned, Weinstein once sat on the Graham Norton show, an episode Graham probably wishes could be erased from history. Back then, Weinstein was still one of Hollywood's biggest power players, a producer whose name carried serious weight. But even in those days, people in the industry whispered about him, rumors of controlling, overbearing behavior that made plenty of folks uneasy. And the second he stepped onto Graham's set, the whole vibe shifted. The energy in the studio turned heavy, tense, and uncomfortable. Long before the public knew the truth, Graham seemed to sense that something wasn't right. Weinstein kept cutting people off, interrupting Graham, talking over other guests, and constantly redirecting attention back to himself. It was like he couldn't stand to share the spotlight for even a second. His ego filled the room, completely wrecking the relaxed, playful rhythm the show is known for. Graham, ever the professional, tried his hardest to keep things steady, changing topics, cracking jokes, and smiling through the discomfort. But the strain showed. You could see him forcing politeness just to keep the night from falling apart. Years later, after Weinstein's crimes came to light and rocked Hollywood to its core, that interview took on a whole new meaning. Graham reflected on it, saying, "I had no idea at the time, but looking back, it all starts to make sense. Watching it now feels eerie, like a small window into the fake charm that once masked something far darker. It's one of those moments that still gives people chills, a haunting reminder of how appearances can deceive." Now for number 6, Daryl Hannah. This one wasn't about ego or chaos. It was about pure silence. Over the years, Graham's had to deal with wild guests, unpredictable ones, even downright diva behavior. But when he's asked who his most difficult guest ever was, he doesn't even hesitate: Daryl Hannah. Her episode became infamous not because of arguments or drama, but because almost nothing happened. Daryl barely engaged at all. Graham later called it one of the most painful interviews of his career. And anyone who's seen it totally gets why. Her answers were unbelievably short, sometimes just a single word, and those long dead silences in between made every minute feel like forever. It wasn't that she was rude, she just looked like she didn't want to be there. Graham tried everything in his toolkit: clever jokes, playful teasing, even switching topics to keep things light, but nothing landed. No matter what he said, she stayed distant, quiet, and unreadable. Later, Graham admitted that the whole interview with Daryl Hannah felt like she'd been forced onto the show against her will, and honestly, it showed. For a host who thrives on fast-paced banter, quick wit, and genuine connection, that kind of vibe is absolute torture. It's no surprise that even years later, Daryl still stands out in his memory as one of the hardest guests to ever sit on that legendary red couch. Unlike other quiet guests who at least try to play along, Daryl seemed completely checked out, like she wanted to vanish right there on stage. Her total lack of engagement made every second more uncomfortable. No matter what Graham threw at her, witty jokes, new topics, that charming grin he's known for, nothing broke through. She gave him almost nothing to work with. What should have been a fun, feel-good chat turned into a painfully tense standoff that had both Graham and the audience silently begging for it to be over. For Graham, that night became more than just a tough memory. It was a crash course in the brutal side of live hosting. When a guest refuses to connect, even the smoothest host in the business has to fight to keep things afloat. But here's what makes Graham's confessions about his toughest guests so fascinating. It's not just the juicy celebrity drama, it's what it shows about his incredible skill as a host. After decades in the spotlight, Graham has mastered the rare art of reading a room. He can shift tone, switch tempo, and rescue even the most awkward moment without missing a beat. But those 6 guests, they pushed him right to his limits, proving that even a master of charm can hit a wall. Because the truth is, not every celebrity is built for talk show energy. Some stars, amazing on screen, struggle the second the script disappears. In front of a camera, they're magnetic, transforming into unforgettable characters. But once they're on that couch, under bright lights, with no lines to hide behind, they freeze up. And then there are guests like Mark Wahlberg, who go in the opposite direction, bringing too much chaos, turning interviews into unpredictable roller coasters instead of smooth conversations. And of course, there are stars like Daryl Hannah, people who clearly hate the entire promo grind. You can tell they'd rather be anywhere else, treating interviews like a chore instead of a fun chance to connect with fans. What keeps Graham at the top, though, is that he never lets awkwardness take him down. For every uncomfortable Daryl Hannah-type moment, there are dozens of epic, laugh-out-loud, unforgettable scenes that remind everyone why he's the king of talk shows. His unique format, stacking multiple celebs on one couch, often saves him in real time. When one guest clams up, another steps in, cracking jokes, changing the energy, or pulling the spotlight just enough to turn tension into comedy gold. And here's the genius part. Graham doesn't try to pretend awkwardness isn't happening. He owns it. With just one sly glance at the camera, a perfectly timed smirk, or a self-aware line like, "Well, this is going great," he flips the whole mood instantly. That kind of honesty wins the audience over every single time. They're not laughing at him, they're laughing with him. That's what makes Graham so beloved. He doesn't fake perfection. He gives the audience something real every single time. So even after hearing about all those tough encounters, it's clear why Graham Norton still stands tall as one of the best in the business. While other talk shows fade, lose spark, or rely on stiff, rehearsed energy, the Graham Norton Show just keeps thriving. And it's easy to see why. His show isn't about formal interviews or fake politeness. It's about real chaos, real laughter, and those once-in-a-lifetime moments that nobody can script. It's not just a talk show. It's a full-blown party that the whole world wants to be invited to. Unlike most American talk shows that stick to stiff one-on-one chats, Graham throws everyone together on the same couch, with a drink or 2 in hand. That laid-back setup is his secret weapon. It breaks the ice fast, sparks real talk, and lets celeb showsides fans never get to see. Graham's real genius is how he walks the line between cheeky and kind. He knows how to tease guests just enough to keep things spicy, but never cruel. He'll drop a daring question when the moment's right, but always with that warm grin that makes people laugh instead of tense up. His laugh's infectious, his curiosity feels real, and his easy charm gets even the most guarded stars to open up. What makes the Graham Norton Show so addictive is that perfect mix of control and chaos. Sure, Graham's running the show, but when something wild happens, he lets it breathe. That's the magic. Some of the show's biggest viral moments came from those unscripted, unpredictable interactions, like celebs meeting for the first time on that red couch and instantly clicking or hilariously clashing. Those rough guest encounters, they became lessons for Graham and for everyone watching. They remind us that fame doesn't equal great conversation. Just because someone's brilliant on screen doesn't mean they'll sparkle in real life. Some freeze up the second the script disappears, while others bring too much energy and throw everything off balance. And honestly, watching even a pro like Graham struggle to connect feels real. It's human. It reminds us that behind all the glitz, these are still just people trying to talk. Sometimes it flows, sometimes it flops. And that's okay. The fact that Graham's finally naming names after years of dodging the worst guest question says it all. He's confident enough now to keep it real. No fear, no filter. He's earned his place at the top, and this honesty proves it. There's probably a subtle warning, too. If you come on my show, come ready to talk or risk making that list. Even with those awkward nights, the Graham Norton Show stays must-watch TV. Every week, new guests hit that couch with fresh stories, wild chemistry, and that spark fans love. At 62, Graham's still sharp, witty, and clearly loving every second of it. You can see that joy in every laugh, even when he's stuck saving an interview. Here's the funny twist. Those painfully awkward interviews we've talked about, they've become part of the Graham Norton Show legend. Fans still laugh about Mark Wahlberg's chaotic, out-of-control night, still question what was going through Mickey Rourke's head, and still wonder what it would have taken to make Daryl Hannah loosen up on that red couch. In their own weird way, those uncomfortable moments are just as iconic as the show's funniest and most heartwarming highlights. In the end, Graham Norton's rise from a broke dreamer hustling through London to one of the most respected hosts on TV isn't just a story of success. It's proof that talent, consistency, and authenticity can turn even the toughest nights into unforgettable TV magic. And here's the thing. Graham's honesty about his worst guests doesn't hurt his legacy at all. It makes it stronger. After thousands of interviews, the fact that he can count his true nightmare moments on one hand says everything about his skill, patience, and class. Those 6 names, Mickey Rourke, Mark Wahlberg, Robert De Niro, Kevin Costner, Harvey Weinstein, and Daryl Hannah, aren't stains on his record. They're rare reminders that even the best can have an off night. They were the moments when all his usual tricks, wit, warmth, and charm just couldn't fix the vibe. Even for a host as legendary as Graham, there were times when his talent hit its limit. But that's exactly what makes his story feel so real. The key difference? He never let those awkward nights define him. He laughed it off, learned from it, and kept going stronger than before. That resilience, mixed with his humor and grace, is exactly why fans stay loyal year after year. So what about you? What do you think of Graham Norton's most difficult guests? Have you ever seen any of those famously uncomfortable interviews? Which one do you think would have been the hardest to survive if you were in his seat? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to know. Tell us your favorite Graham Norton moments, the hilarious ones, the tense ones, or the ones that made you sit up and go, did that really just happen? If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes deep dive into one of TV's most iconic shows, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a single scoop. We've got plenty more inside stories, celebrity drama breakdowns, and legendary talk show moments coming your way. Whether you've been watching the Graham Norton Show since day one or you're just now discovering it, there's always something new to love about how Graham reinvented the talk show game. From the chaotic highs to the painfully awkward lows, from spontaneous laughter to those heavy, silent moments that make everyone squirm, It's all part of what makes his show so real, so unpredictable, and so addictive, effortless. That's the magic word everyone uses to describe the Graham Norton show. But as Graham himself has proven over and over again, it's not always that easy. And honestly, that's what makes the great moments shine even brighter. Every laugh, every awkward pause, every unscripted surprise, it's all part of what makes his show legendary. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more wild celebrity stories, untold talk show secrets, and jaw-dropping behind-the-scenes drama you won't believe. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next video for even more entertainment scoop and iconic TV moments.